What is going on, everybody? Good morning. Randy Paddock here with my boy Leroy, and welcome to Bull Chat with Randy Paddock. This is episode 18. So this one, if you listen to 17, it was a little bit heavier. This one, not so much. So this one, I'm doing. It's a Tuesday morning, about 7 a.m. Got my nice cup of Joe here in my unicorn coffee cup. Let's take a slug of that. Get that day started off right. That unicorn coffee cup, I got at the dollar store. So I found that you're getting old when you like love going to the dollar store. Like Dollar Tree though, that's what I'm talking. So I'm not talking about this Dollar General bullshit where shit's like $12. I'm talking Dollar Tree where everything's a dollar. Because you could go in there thinking everything's a dollar and spend like $30 on all kinds of useless shit. Anything that ever went in your brain, like, yeah, I might need this, you get it at the dollar store that day. The only thing I won't do is I won't like grocery shop at the dollar store. That's still a bit off to me. I don't know if I trust that shit, but badass mugs. I get a lot of stuff there, so that's one sign I'm turning into a housewife or just an old weird man that's gonna start paying with nickels. But I love the dollar store and this badass cup. If you're watching this on YouTube, it's my unicorn mug. $1. It doesn't get any better than that. Speaking of which, if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, Bull Chat Pod, make sure you do it. Follow me on the old Instagram, Randy J Paddock. Facebook, we got the Bull Chat with Randy Paddock page or my personal page. Twitter, Randy Paddock. I don't know how to use it, but you can help me out on that. And then Snapchat's the Paddock, and I need to get better with that as well. But as always, guys, if you like the shit, please like it, comment on it, share it. Trying to grow this motherfucker, and I need your help to do that. All right. So, anyways, like I was saying, this one's gonna be light, and it's ironic. I'm talking about things called. It's called Back in the Day. So I'm talking about some older stuff, and the irony is today my notes are on my phone, which is an iPhone, which is the exact opposite of back in the day. I usually use a pen and paper, which would be old school. Now I'm on a digital one because this was just shit that was popping into my head while I was like sitting at red lights and doing other things. So I don't walk around with a pen and a pad like a poetry guy or anything like that. I just had the fucking phone, so I put stuff on there. So what got this going? There's two things that made me start thinking about how much better back in the day was than present day. So the first thing started. I don't know if I'll get these in chronicle order, chronologically, whatever the hell it is, right? So there's this piece of shit bar I like to go to. So over by me, there's Old Irving Brewery, which is a nice little brewery. So I like to go there and have some beers. But there's this bar. It's called like Kickstart, and it's across the street. And it's this like piece of shit dive bar, but like an awesome one. You got to pay cash, and I don't know, but there's all kinds of fucking people from all different walks of life. It's very, very strange. But the baddest ass part is that they do karaoke till like 4 in the morning every day. So like you'll see some champions of the world in there, and it's super fun. So I like to go there. I'm a little bit hammered and watch these people because I mean they're like getting after it. There's some people giving it all, and it's funny. You don't want to laugh at them, though you laugh with them, but then you respect the fact that they got balls that they're just going fucking nuts on "Don't Stop Believing" or whatever the hell they picked at that time. So it's hilarious. Anyhow, so I was in there. This happened a couple of times, and that's why I was like, "What the fuck?" So these like kids come in, and they're probably, I don't know, in their early 20s, I would guess. I'm not good at that kind of stuff. And, take it with a grain of salt 'cause I live in Chicago, Northwest side, so there's going to be some hipsters floating around. But, so it's like gaggle of kids comes in. And again, I feel bad doing this, like judging these kids and doing whatever, because when me and my friends were in our early 20s, we were the biggest bunch of fuck faces on planet Earth. So when we walked in bars, I wouldn't mind, like, you made sense if you walked out because we were loud, we were fucking assholes, we were trying to draw attention to ourselves, we were tough guys, we were power drinking, just a bunch of fucks. These kids are not like that. They're very jolly and happy. However, they look like 1992 fucking threw up. So I'm talking like these kids look like they could be extras on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air or Blossom or Name Your 90s sitcom where people wore like baggier clothes, tight rolled bottom jeans, fanny packs, fucking like scrunchies in their hair, all this bullshit. And I'm just like, God damn it, I hate kids. And then they're doing the thing that all kids do when you're in a place and you want to, like, they put on these stupid songs that they're singing and they're all dancing and just creating a scene. Again, I know I'm getting old because this shouldn't bother me, or I'm like, no, I shouldn't be judging these kids because we used to do the exact same shit. And you motherfuckers know me. I was the king of making a scene. So I get it. But it started got me thinking about, see, it must be coming back. It's way better if the youth of America is rocking shit from like the late 80s, early mid 90s, then it's got to be better than what's going on today. And then a second thing happened is I had a couple of buddies in town the other day. My buddy Fat Wrist and my buddy Opsel, aka Bag of Shitface, came in, and we went to this show, this band Apocalypse Hoboken, which was like one of our favorite bands when we were teenagers. And these guys formed in like '89 or something like that. So we were big into them in like, early 2000s. And we go see them all the time. But we just got to talking about like when we were younger, like punk shows and all these shows we used to go to like back in the day when we were kiddos. And I just just reminiscing about all these old stories from back then. So I started thinking about those and how awesome they were, and then even older to when I was a child. And then there's some categories that ran up that I want to talk to about shit back in the day. And this, hopefully it doesn't span as much, but more specifically, most of the time I'm be talking like the late '80s to mid '90s, like '96, bro, or something like the '72-10 Bulls or something like that. Um, but I think some might pop into like after that, so bear with me a little bit. But I broke it up into kind of different categories of what I've noticed or what I think is better than now. Yes. So back to those punk ass kids. What I started off with is fashion. Okay, so shit from the late '80s, early mid '90s, it's coming back. So there's a few things that are hitting back pretty heavy that I've been seeing. Okay. And unfortunately, they're associated with hipsters a lot. Even more fortunate with me is that I rock a lot of this shit. So I got it bad anyways, okay? So where I live, plus awesome beard, plus I kind of wear girl tight jeans sometimes, plus Chuck Taylors, plus tattoos, equals everyone thinks I'm a goddamn hipster, right? And unfortunately, I can't shake that. But all the hipster stuff I like, and I liked it forever. So these goddamn kids are ruining it for me, but what are you going to do? So a couple of things that are coming back. So fanny packs, number one, which I'm a huge fan of. Do I rock a fanny pack? Absolutely. When the time is needed, a fanny pack is needed. It's fucking practical, okay? So sometimes, especially for me, if I wear tighter jeans or whatever, if anyone wears tighter jeans, you don't really have a lot of pockets to put stuff. So you're going to need to put your gear somewhere unless you want to walk around with a backpack and two-strap it. So that fanny pack just is practical to get shit on. It's practical for me. I like to wear it when I go running, right? Put cell phone, keys, things of that nature. Anytime I'm running around. It's very popular with the youth of America. I've noticed at these goddamn music festivals. You're going to see fanny packs galore, right? So like anything, I remember my first fanny pack. It was badass. It was probably, I don't know, 91 or something like that. It was, my mom was a big fan of the fanny pack. She had an arsenal of fucking fanny packs. So my sister, fanny pack fan. My first one was green and it had Bart Simpson faces all over it. I remember like it was yesterday. And I used to put, change in there and like probably like a G.I. Joe or a fucking Hot Wheels. But it was badass. So that's when my love for the fanny pack did kick in. And now, obviously they take it to another level as everyone tends to do. So kids get more loud and obnoxious with them. I see fucking huge Gucci ones, whatever. Anyhow, there's a little part of time where people were talking shit on it, or it's like, oh, fanny pack, what the fuck, dork. But those, congrats to those who stayed strong. You power through. I think with anything, if you power through, you're going to live to see it happen again. So fanny pack for sure. Another big one, and obviously I'm rocking it now, snapbacks. And if you didn't see that, I did a air quote because they called them snapback hats. When I was a kid, these were just called hats. Okay, you didn't get fitted caps unless you had fucking dollar bills, y'all. So everyone, you had snapback hats, or AKA just hats. Starter had badass hats. I had many Cubs, Bulls. Back in the day, I used to like the Charlotte Hornets. I liked Larry Johnson, Alonzo Mourning. So I had a lot of Charlotte Hornets hats. And I'm not talking like trucker caps. These are just straight up snapback caps. And I remember my uncles, my Uncle Tony specifically had 1 million snapbacks like in his room and stuff. So every now and then he'd hook it up. He was crazy Dago too, man. He had this. I remember it was probably '96, or maybe it was after the second Bulls three-peat or whatever, or the first Bulls three-peat. I don't remember. He had like a leather Bulls champion snapback. It was sick. But they were huge, and obviously these days everyone's coming around. Every time you see a guy, flat brim, snapback, right? Rap culture made it popular, and now it's everywhere. So obviously the fitted caps, I mean, people still rock them, but nah, man, it's snapbacks. Speaking of starters coming back, like the pullover starter jackets, man, those were the fucking best. All right, like if in '95 you didn't have a pullover starter, man, you were out of the loop. You were in the cold, literally in Chicago because it was freezing balls. But like you had to have that. So my sister, again, I grew up and she was kind of thuggish. So I mean, the starters, everyone had them, but you know, hip hop made them sick, right? You know, Tupac, I remember in like the Brent Had a Bay video or something, was rocking a big ass UNLV one. But anyhow, we had the starters floating around mine. I got some hand-me-down starters from my sister as well. I remember, you know, I had a lot of the kids my age, when you were a young kid and you just needed a winter coat and you got the starter, you got like the teams you liked, and there was a lot of red and black going around, obviously Chicago. So I had a Blackhawks one, also red and black Bulls ones. I never had a Cubs one, which I wish I had. My sister had a Sox one, which sucked. But my sister, she was more into the fashion of it. She had a pretty cool one because it was very unique. She had a fucking Milwaukee's Bucks starter. That ended up getting handed down to me, which I rocked from time to time because it was green and purple and it was badass and no one had it. But the pullover starter jackets were the shit. My favorite starter jacket, and these ones have coming back a little bit more in the pullover, I think. They were like the kind of shiny button-up ones. So I had a dope-ass one that said Bears across the chest. My buddy had a 49ers one that was pretty sick. I love those. You know, those are back for sure. The button-up starter with the name of your team emblazed in the front. So, starter jackets, those things are back. Okay? And they were awesome. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're missing out. Google that shit. Order yourself one, especially if you've never had one. If you never had one as a kid, too, as an adult, get your ass a starter jacket and live a little. Mom jeans. Okay, I don't know when this became a thing, but it's a thing. So you know I'm talking about the jeans that are up like to your belly button. So it's good that the youth rocks the mom jeans, because when moms rock the mom jeans, you get the danger of what's called the fupa, right? Or the gunt is what they call it, and that's that chubby area above your private regions there. It makes a little pouch, a little kangaroo pouch. Lots of moms have it. It's probably after giving kids and not working out and just kind of stuff storing there. But the sad part about it is the mom gene would really accentuate your fupa, because your fucking belt, so you got your Z Cavaricis on or whatever, Bugle Boys, what have you, and your belt's up here by your belly button, so then there's just like a little fupa that's really accentuated through your jeans. So that's how the mom jeans designed it. It ain't a low rider. If it was a low rider, the fupa would be hanging over the top, and that'd be a whole nother ball of wax. But this keeps the fupa in. It keeps it tight. However, it's not that appealing to the eye. With the youth of America and the younger folks having it, most of them haven't been popping out a bunch of children or still staying fit a little bit. So that it doesn't exist. So you just kind of have just flatness from where the top of that belt button of the belly button goes. So especially in shorts. So I don't know I don't know. I mean, it's up here in Chicago for sure. I lived in Raleigh for a while, and that shit really hit. And those fucking girls down south love mom jean shorts and whatever. But it's back. Another thing I've been seeing is, and again, these were prevalent in my house, is scrunchies. So, you know, I've been looking at girls' wrists a lot lately, and there's for sure fucking scrunchies hanging out. And I get it, they're all purpose. They hold your hair back, they double as a sweet ass bracelet. But those went away for a long time, but they're back in action right now, man. The scrunchie is blazing. My sister had literally, I remember like wicker baskets. Y'all know what a wicker basket is? Yeah. She would have wicker baskets full of fucking scrunchies. Okay, rocking 3 or 4 on the arm, looking bad as shit in '92. Whatever, whatever. But those things are back. So that's just some stuff with fashion. I'm sure I missed a bunch of other stuff. Some side notes, Zubas. I still rock a pair of Zubas. Are the best pants ever. I have a pair of Chicago Bears Zubas. I also have a Chicago Bears Zuba hat, which is maybe the dopest thing on the fucking planet. So that stuff's still around. What I'm waiting for is those hypercolor t-shirts. Remember those t-shirts that change colors? Or Big Johnson t-shirts. That would be hilarious as well. I don't think those would fly in this day and age. Next, music. Hands down, bar none, music is way fucking better back in the day than it is today. So I was lucky. I grew up like, what do they call it when you're like between Aries and Taurus or whatever? You're like a cusp person. You have traits from both. So I was like on the cusp of a lot of different genres when I was growing up. So I was coming up at the ass end of hair metal. So like the ass end of hair metal, the beginning of like grunge and fucking '90s West Coast gangster rap was all kind of kicking off. So I'll talk about a little bit those. So hair metal, love it or hate it. Most people hate it. I love it. Was fucking awesome. You know what I mean? Like I had some big influences of hair metal. So my sister, obviously, I remember a couple of her first CDs, or one of her first CDs ever was Skid Row, self-titled, Youth Gone Wild, motherfucker. But my uncle's huge. My uncle Mike was a metalhead, like back in the day, like in '91. He was in high school, I think, or just getting out in like the early '90s. And I mean, this dude was LIVIN, the hair metal lifestyle. Mullet, rocking hard, shitty ass, like. So I remember I thought he was a badass. He had this tattoo that was like this big. I think him and his like neighborhood crew did, of like a cross. But then he got a fucking classic like metal tattoo. It's a fucking panther with a snake wrapped around it fighting. I'm like, fuck yeah, right? So they were always listening to like Poison, Crew, Queensryche, like all that shit, right? My Uncle Tony, big on the Queensryche CD, like maybe some Silent Lucidity or whatever their biggest jam was. So hair metal was fucking awesome. They were just rocking, jamming. If you say you didn't love monster ballads or those ballads those hair metal bands put out, you're full of shit. So that shit's better than any, I think, like rock and roll coming out these days. Back to that too, it got murdered by grunge. So grunge was some of the best shit on the planet. So my sister's other first ever CD, Nirvana, Nevermind. Obviously, like a lot of kids when that came out in '91 or whatever, '92, whatever it is, hit. It was huge. So like all that wave of grunge music, which was badass, was when I was coming up. So yeah, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, were some big grunge bands going on. Soundgarden, obviously. And my sister, I remember what she used to do. She used to write out. I don't know if I've talked about this before. I think I might have, but she used to write out the lyrics to songs on pieces of paper, like tape in a room. I remember she was a big Pearl Jam fan as well. I remember she had like The Ocean, right, or Even Flow, and she would like draw little things on the title and then paste up or like tape up in her room the lyrics to the songs. It was hilarious. But grunge was awesome, so I got a little taste of that as well. And then on the flip side of when grunge was going on, there was also like alternative music happening, which was pretty good too. And the alternative spectrum, this was big then, like Hairbangers Ball was out, so that was like, that was all the fucking Ricky Ratman taught, and he had the Viper Room in LA, so he's a very big hair metal guy. He's in the Guns N' Roses November Rain video. So Hairbangers Ball was like very, hair metal, then transferred into some grunge, and then like metal, like Pantera and all that shit got on there. My dad and my sister used to stay up. It was on Saturdays at like midnight or 10 to midnight or something late. And I just remember my sister and my dad staying up and watching Hairbangers Ball and like creep down and watch it. But so alternative music, that was kind of creeping in too with grunge. So these were bands that weren't exactly grunge. Some kind of went in and out. That was one end of the spectrum. The other was just like kind of rock music that was kind of pussified. And I liked it all. So like some alternative bands, like borderlining towards the grunge or whatever, like Stone Temple Pilots and shit like that was like an alternative music band. You know what I mean? Jane's Addiction, the Chili Peppers, all that kind of shit. That was like, alternative on that spectrum. Then the pussified side, you had like Third Eye Blind, you had like Eve Six, like all those bands that came out with just a couple of jams. Like they all looked the same. Fucking I have become cumbersome, like that kind of shit. All the guys that sounded like this, like rip off Eddie Vedder's, right? So there was a lot of that. The Gin Blossoms, however, they fucking kicked ass. If you don't like Gin Blossoms, Found Out About You, you suck. That's one of the best songs ever. So go ahead and check that shit out, and you're welcome. All right, so we had that going on. End of hair metal, grunge is rocking. You had alternative, you were a little lighter. You had that mild British invasion, right? Fucking Oasis came on over, Blur, that kind of stuff. Hole was kicking in and Garbage, so you had some chicks. So there's all kinds of awesome like rock music going on. And then you had like thrash metal, which was happening. That shit was pretty cool, right? And this started like in the late 80s, moved into 90s. You had like your Anthrax. This like Slayer was a bit more metal on that, but like Faith No More, all that kind of good shit as well was kicking. So like if you like rock music, there was a lot going on there, and it was really cool. Way better than right now. What the fuck is the rock music that's going on? You know what I mean? I don't even know. That's how bad it is. There's like nothing that's really kicking ass, And there was so many different genres back in the day. And hopefully this is jogging up some juices in your brain. Like, fuck yeah, remember that, remember that. Go on Spotify and download it all because it hasn't gotten any worse. It's probably gotten better. And then obviously you had gangster rap. So I don't give a shit how old you are or whatever you think. If you say that rap music today is fucking rap and that it's good, go fuck yourself. And I don't even have a polite way to say that. Like, I don't give a shit, man. I'm talking about beats. You can't beat a like 90s West Coast fucking beat. Nothing beats it, right? Like, back in the day, gangster rap, I mean, like, not all, like, some of the songs were saying stuff, the lyrics were better, the guys could actually rap, they didn't have a lot of bullshit hooks and choruses and saying the same word over and over again, they actually had verses, they actually fucking had bars, spit rhymes, like, Chronic blew everything up when that was going fucking Doggy Style. One of the great, like, Snoop Doggy Dogg. I'm not talking Snoop Dogg. I'm talking Snoop Doggy Dogg from 92. Maybe the most untouchable motherfucker on the planet, right? So you had all those West Coast of Death Row guys. You had the Dog Pound coming out of there. Warren G, right? Regulators, Nate Dogg, Lady of Rage. All that shit was going on. You had East Coast, fucking Biggie Smalls. The Ready to Die album might be the greatest album ever put down. And the kid made it when he was like 18 years old or something. Sick. So you had fucking the Bad Boy Entertainment guys, right? Craig Mack, R.I.P., Flavin Year. And then we had all the badass rap groups. I'm not talking fucking Migos mumble bullshit. I'm talking hip-hop rap groups. So if you wanted hip-hop groups, you had badass shit. Gang Starr, right? Maybe one of the greatest ever duos. Black Star, right? Fucking Tribe Called Quest, The Far Side, right? I'm talking about that. The goddamn Ghetto Boys, right? If you wanted some rap, you had the motherfucking Wu-Tang Clan, right? The Wu is for the children. So don't ever come at me saying, I'm not talking about this bullshit Drake fucking, I mean, there's a couple MCs that are good these days, but they wouldn't be able to stand up in 92. No fucking way. Maybe Kendrick Lamar, right? But like go back and listen to some gangster rap. Like Beef, motherfuckers shot people and killed people. Like these guys were living it, right? They're not wearing fucking size XXS jeans with dreads hanging off their ass, popping fucking Molly. These guys were getting high and chronic, drinking 40s and shooting up your fucking house. All right? That's fucking gangster rap. So go back and lean into it. Alright, so that's my 2 cents on that. Staying on the kind of line of popular culture, so movies. Like, Jesus Christ. Movies these days, like, I don't even know what the fuck's going on. Gotta take a sip of coffee to think about that. Leroy's grabbing some water to do the same thing. But they actually had, new ideas for movies. And I guess maybe there's only so many ideas, but it seems like these days, everything's a goddamn comic book movie or a remake of something else. And some are good. I liked It, right? And some of the remakes are good. Some of them fucking suck. And some of them killed some of my favorite movies, and that pisses me off. But what made the 80s and early 90s badass was a couple things a couple of genres, right? So one, all the extreme sports movies. So they'd find an extreme sport and they'd make a movie out of it. So a couple that were sick, right? So you had like fucking Gleaming the Cube, right? Christian Slater. just skating, doing some skateboards, getting in there, skating pools, getting those black wheels so you can go fast as fuck, right? Tony Hawk was in it, so you had that going on, right? Rollerblading, right? Remember the movie Airborne? Yeah, awesome. That was one of the best movies ever, right? We had that going on. We had like the genre of like the really extreme, so when it got like skydiving and fucking badass. When remember that TV show Extreme Sports with Dan Cortez? Yeah, it's like when that shit was popping off. You had movies like Drop Zone. Y'all remember that? Wesley Snipes Drop Zone. It's fucking awesome, right? Wesley Snipes had a big run, right? Passenger 57, The Fan, Drop Zone, Murder at 1500 or whatever the address is of the White House. Yeah, that motherfucker was bad, right? But out of all that genre that came, Rad was one of the best movies, in the 80s. BMX, that part when they're dancing to Send Me an Angel, him and Aunt Becky on their bicycles, fucking Bart Taylor doing flips, Eat Your Heart Out. Great movie, right? But the best out of that, and still one of my favorite movies of all times, and it was ruined by a fucking remake, goddamn Point Break. Might be the greatest movie ever. And if you haven't seen Point Break, the original, you gotta go see it. You could probably go to a Walmart and look in the $5 bin, excuse me, and find it. But let me tell you a little bit about the best characters, three of the best characters on planet Earth ever existed. Okay, number one, goddamn Johnny Utah. All right, Keanu Reeves, another guy in the 90s, had the great runs. He had his Bill and Ted's, he had Point Break, he was in Parenthood, fucking Speed, whatever. All right, but nothing beat Johnny Utah, Ohio State quarterback, a.k.a. one of the FBI's greatest men ever. Why? His knee got peeled back in a bowl game, but he still got it. Check out the beach scene in fucking Point Break. He's got it. He has the sickest play action, behind the legs, spin move, fake out, known to man. He's got Bodie, the safety, who I'll get into in a minute, biting. He's got the D-line on their ass. It's fucking gorgeous. All right? He's a smart ass. He's a great surfer, right? He's a badass, and he learns the ways, all right? So that's one of the best characters. Johnny Utah caught his first tube, sir. 2, Angelo fucking Pappas, his mentor, Gary Busey. Some of the greatest lines on planet Earth about this, all right? Phenomenal stuff. First and foremost, he loves his food. And when he's by a food stand that has the best meatball subs around, he's not getting one. You know what he's doing, fucking Utah? Give me 2. All right? Great man. And obviously, the Bodhisattva, Bodhi, R.I.P. Swayze. He's the Zen master. He's teaching them the fucking way. He takes Johnny Utah under his wing, teaches him the way. Even when he knows he's out to bust him, he still wants to teach him how to get radical and fucking live life. All right? Makes him the great man at the end at fucking Bells Beach, Australia in the 50-year storm. Utah knows. Greatest movie on the fucking planet. Ruined by a goddamn remake. Okay? So, check that shit out. So we had all those movies going on. We also had all the fucking action movies. Action stars were big in the late 80s, early 90s. Alright? Stop me if you heard it, but here's some of the dopest sons of bitches that were on the planet. A motherfucker named Jean-Claude Van Damme. Right? Never heard of him? Yeah. He was doing the damn thing. Chuck Norris was at the ass end of that stuff. My boy, Steven Seagal. He's a creep now, but that guy did the damn thing. Right? So those were like the big guys, especially Van Damme, Seagal. They were the biggest. They had all those movies. Van Damme had a movie coming out every other week. Right? So did Seagal. And I'm talking Seagals are some of the best, man. Out for Justice. Right? He's fucking looking for who did Richie. Right? Looking for Richie. Why'd he do Bobby Lupo? Right? It's one of the best. Watch that shit. Shitty Italian accent. It's fucking awesome. Above the Law, Marked for Death with Screwface the Jamaican. Hard to Kill, which was like one of the first ones I saw. Check them out. Van Damme, fucking forget about it. Bloodsport, Kickboxer, Universal Soldier, right? Double Impact, right? When he was twins. That shit, they don't make shit like that anymore. I like the action stars these days. Obviously Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, we have the same birthday. Cheers. Fucking Statham's badass. But nothing beats those movies. Check them out. Also, scary movies. Like, there's actually scary movies made. It wasn't remakes of scary movies or, like, bullshit. And I guess times changed, like Paranormal Activity and all that shit. And, like, Unfriended, the computer bullshit's all big now. But I'm talking movies that used to scare the shit out of you. Right? So just look back at some 80s scary movies. But that was a good thing. And then they created the scary movie characters. I don't know, fucking Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees. In part 1, his mom, Michael Myers, right? Where they could build after these guys would come back and haunt you time after time after time and make these sequels. And they're fucking awesome. Used to scare the shit out of me as a kid. Freddy Krueger, no shit, used to scare the shit out of me. I watch it now. He's the funniest son of a bitch on the fucking planet. So the movies were a lot better. And kind of speaking with the movies, TV. There was less on, I think, which made it better. So the best thing, my favorite thing on TV back in the day was the goddamn WWF. All right, I'm not talking the WWE, I'm talking the WWF. This was the shit. And all the characters were awesome. They were characters. They didn't give a fuck how goofy they looked or whatever. The plot twists were badass. I would watch Superstars. Back in the day, before there was like Monday Night Raw, that came a little later on. But before that, it was like Saturday Special Superstars was Saturday, and that's all you were getting. But I'm talking, this is Hogan in his prime, fucking Ultimate Warrior, Legion of Doom, the Macho King. Macho Man, remember that? Macho Man Randy Savage, one king of the ring, became a bad guy, got Sensational Sherry as his bitch and became the Macho King. This is what I used to watch. I used to eat cheese sandwiches on Saturday morning, have my Hogan and my Macho King wrestling dummies watching this shit, glued in. Fucking awesome. Loved it. Right? Saved by the Bell. How did I learn all my lessons in life? I don't know. Zach Morris teaching me. It's fucking great. He taught a lot of people. One of the greatest shows. And that was a thing. It was like with all the kids shows and cartoons on Saved by the Bell. And they just don't make sitcoms like they used to, because like I think the formula was you had to have, like, so it was like The Bell, 90210, any of the teen dramas. You had to have people that were like 30 playing kids. It was way better. These days, I think they have like kids playing kids, and it fucking sucks. I don't want to see like a 12-year-old by a 12-year-old. I want to see a 12-year-old that's 28 that can fucking show me some shit. Right? Kelly Kapowski, my first crush. Tiffany Thiessen, bless her soul. Right? So they had all those badass like teen dramas. Like The Bell was the number one, and that was lighthearted and taught it. They had some spin-offs that were close to it. Fucking California Dreams. Remember that? Surf Dudes with Attitudes, kind of grooving. My buddy Scovey, she knows that with me. We bond over that. But they had their band called California Dreams. They hung out at their version of the Max, which was called Sharkies. They had Jake the Badass with the fucking leather jacket. They had the token black guy, Tony, on drums. They had the Asian girl in there. They had the white girl that could sing. They had Sly, who was their sleazebag fucking manager. It was a great show, right? What else popped off? USA High. Do you motherfuckers remember that? It was about a bunch of kids that lived in Paris, but they went to like this prep school. The main chick from it's Grant Cardone's wife. I just found that out the other day. I'm like, she looks familiar. I Googled it. Yep, it's her. That was a good one. 15. My sister used to make me watch that one. That was on Nickelodeon. It was like their soap opera about a high school 15. Ryan Reynolds was in it. Like as a kid, he was like the badass with the fucking dangly earring. Then there was like all the Good Family ones, right? So there was the teen dramas. Then there was all like about the Good Family. Maybe people just don't like families these days and why they're not on there. I mean, I guess Modern Family is a good one. But like, I'm talking Family Ties, right? The Keatons, right? Fucking Growing Pains. Or Growing Pains was the Keaton's. Family Ties was, what was it? Fuck, goddamn it, Alan Thicke and the boys. It's gonna piss me off that I can't remember what the hell. Walsh? No, that wasn't Walsh. Damn it, Walsh was 90210. But, and then there was like the other ones that were like a little bit less. So you might have the Hogan Family. Remember that one? That was a badass one. Jason Bateman was on that shit. Just the 10 of Us. It was like the modern day Cheaper by the Dozen, where the dad was the basketball coach and he had a couple of the hot daughters and doing that. That was a fucking great show. My Two Dads was the new age one when the chick had the two dads, right? One was a real dad and one was like the badass who dated her mom. I don't exactly remember how all that shit worked, but that led into Step by Step, which was like the new age Brady Bunch, because it was Patrick Duffy and Suzanne Summers that were like divorced, brought their own kids. And they did that thing. Obviously, fucking Full House, right? Family Matters. They're just good times with all the family shows that were going on in there. Fresh Prince, all that shit. And then you had like your one-offs that were awesome. So you had Coach, right? With fucking Craig T. Nelson playing the coach of the Minnesota State Screaming Eagles. That show was badass. Wings, right? Fucking Lowell. Right, Wings was badass. They're on Nantucket. They're just pilots doing the damn thing. That show was awesome. Fucking Cheers. The show was about a goddamn bunch of drunks hanging out in a bar every day, like Norm, right? Fucking Norm and Cliff the mailman. If you really look back at it, they were all kind of losers. They just sat in a bar all the time, but they weren't depicted as losers. They were fucking champions. It even had a spin-off. Frasier, who was like a successful doctor who just sat in a bar all the time bitching about his fucking wife, right? So We had that going on. Small Wonder, that was another weird one when the daughter was a robot. Yeah, that was good shit when I was growing up. Swamp Thing, that was another weird when I was growing up where the guy fucked up in the lab and became a swamp person. Silver Spoons with little Ricky Schroeder, right? His dad was loaded, and then I forgot what the hell happened with that, but his buddy was Carlton, like that. How he got his break on that one. Um, and then Seinfeld popped off in the late 80s, early 90s. Obviously, I think the best show ever. So there's just so much good TV. And the thing that's best about it is, you couldn't fucking binge watch, right? There wasn't DVRs, there wasn't Netflix, there wasn't any of this shit. You waited a week for each episode. It's like at the end of the fucking, you guys remember this? There was like cliffhangers at the end of every episode. Like, stay tuned for scenes for the next episode. You're like, yes! Like you didn't want to miss it because it was right at the end, so you didn't want to get up and grab anything because you wanted to make sure. And it showed you like a 12-second clip about what was happening next week, and you're like, fuck yeah! And then you would go to school or wherever the next day, like, dude, did you see the show? Fuck yeah, I did. Because everyone was watching the same stuff because there wasn't so much goddamn content. And then everyone had to wait. Then you're talking about, what do you think's going to happen next week? What do you think's going to happen next week? And it was awesome. And then you talked about the teaser. It was fucking sick. All right, these days there's so, like, normal TV, everything's the goddamn same. How many goddamn, I love them, don't get me wrong, but how many fucking Law and Orders can you have? How many, detective shows can you have? How much bullshit reality TV can you have? There's so much goddamn content on Netflix that it's overwhelming. Just simple is better sometimes. So I just remember that it was fucking waiting for the show, not DVRing 4 weeks in a row to smash them all together. You had to sit in anticipation, waiting for that little fucking taste that you got, like crack. It was great. And that kind of leads me to the last point I want to hit on. I love technology as much as the next guy, but I think the lack of technology back in the day was something special. So, like as a kid, we played, right? You didn't sit inside and play video games. Why? Because you had an 8-bit Nintendo and it didn't save anything or anything like that, and you couldn't play these long games. But you went outside and played. You used your imagination. I've talked about this before. We go outside all Saturday. You're running around. You're playing tag. You're playing Ghosts in the Graveyard, right? You're playing Red Rover. You're playing your favorite movie. You're playing your favorite action hero, right? How many times was I Van Damme, like outside with fake nunchucks, whatever. You played Ninja Turtles, right? You played your favorite stuff. But you went outside, you played and interacted with kids. You made up stupid games, right? Like that imagination was at work. Your brain was also working as you were having fun and you were being socialized. And I don't think it's random that less fucking psychos were walking the earth back then. So I think that was good. You had to go places to find people, right? And that was always good too. It was good too because you can avoid people. And this even moves into a little bit later on, after I was younger. But like, if you wanted to find people, like you had to like go places, right? You had to guess where they're and go because there wasn't cell phones, right? We didn't have the internet to let people know. You had landlines. Right, but you would just like pop over to people's houses just to see if they were home, and you know what you're gonna do when they were home? You're gonna visit. Yeah, people used to visit each other. You go to someone's house and you'd hang out in the front room and you'd visit. Right? You might have a little coffee cake, you might have a little drink, you might have whatever, but you hung out and you fucking talked. Right? And if they weren't home, you missed it. Right? Sometimes you had to guess where someone might be. Oh, I know so and so likes to hang out there. That's where I'm gonna go look for them. And you had to find people. Right? When I was a kid, to get on our bike or our skateboard, all right, let's check Osage Park. Let's check Uptown. Let's check whatever. You had a couple different options if you wanted to find people. Way better. I liked it way better. And then that way, too, you also knew if people were looking for you, you can dip out. You didn't have to be found. So that was nice. Also, like through word of mouth, right? If you get somewhere a little bit later, hey, you seen Joe? Oh, yeah, you just missed him. He was with blah, blah, blah. They went over this way. So you had to kind of play the telephone game if you really needed to find someone to put it together and get it going. It made things way more fun. And then, obviously came in the kind of thing that tried to change that a little bit. Obviously, pagers were badass. So when you're getting pages, then you knew if someone was looking for you. You call them back. You hit up a fucking payphone, right? You put some quarters in it. Call them back, talk on the phone, see what's up. If you got that 911 page, shit was going down. So, that was on there as well. How about this? Like, with homework, right? The internet didn't kick in until I was in junior high, so anytime before that, I had to use the goddamn encyclopedia. Yeah, I don't know if any of you guys had them, but we had like an encyclopedia set of every letter, and you had to like update it every year. So like Encyclopedia Salesman was like a real thing, because if you didn't update, you had old news, and then it was no good, right? But we had encyclopedias, and that's how I used to do my homework, right? You had to go to the library, and you had to pay for copies. Right? You couldn't just make up copies of stuff or print out things. Like you had to pay like 10 cents for a piece of paper to make copies for shit. And the copy machine sucked back in the day. But that's what it was, right? Like you had to make copies of books, you had to check out books, you had to return books. I remember like I'm not even talking book reports, I'm talking like research shit when you were a kid. You had like 12 different fucking books from the library you had to look at and figure out. You couldn't just go to Wikipedia. It was bullshit. But I think it made kids smarter. You had to learn more. You had to actually look for answers. You couldn't just be lazy and hit it and take someone's word for it. You had to actually go in the goddamn card catalog, find what you're looking for, go get it. You had to have a library card. You had to check it out. You had to return it on time. Otherwise, you faced fines. If you needed a graph, you had to pay a fucking quarter to print it out. So that's kind of shit was going on. Driving around, right? Like, that's what people did. Like when you were 16 or whatever, there wasn't much going on, or you didn't know where people. You had to like drive around to find stuff. That was like a big thing. Was cruising, driving up and down the same streets. That's more of a small town thing, but you know if you fucking did it, right? There was this place in the town a couple over from ours called the Strip, which was literally just Route 14. People drive up and down the fucking Strip on like a Friday night, looking for hoes, looking for dudes, looking for trouble, looking for it all. It was a fucking thing, right? Also, too, like, you couldn't get a hold of people. So if you had beef with someone, you had to go out and fucking find them. If you wanted to fight someone or confront them, you had to go find them. And that's back where the word of mouth fun say came. Oh, you dismissed this motherfucker. I'm getting after it. And then that could become a whole night of a wild goose chase of people looking. Are they going to fight? Are they going to yell at each other? What's going to happen? There's people driving around to different spots, stopping off. These days, not so much. You hit like find my friend on the iPhone or iPhone locator, and you're dead in 2 minutes, right? And then the internet came out in like the mid 90s, and then the old internet was badass, right? You had to wait. You didn't take it for granted because you had to wait 20 fucking minutes for it to connect, right? You could eat a fucking sandwich while it was happening. And then if the phone rang or someone picked up the phone, you were kicked off and you had to wait for it all again. So it was precious time. It wasn't just once. Think about it now. If your internet's like not fucking off or not working after a second, you get pissed. As do I, because we're used to it like this. Just go back and remember the dial-up back in the day and appreciate if it takes half a second for your goddamn internet to be up and running. You know what else was badass? MySpace. Right? So this is a little bit later on, but before all the Facebook, before that, MySpace, you could show people who your top 8 friends are. You could play your favorite jams on there. People knew what you stood for. It was like the beginning of social media, and it was fucking awesome. Another thing that was the beginning of social media that was awesome, AOL Instant Messenger. You guys remember fucking chat rooms? So that was one thing. You go into chat rooms, but then when you had Instant Messenger, it was like before texting was a thing. You hit people up. You could leave hilarious messages when you were gone. That was big more when I was like in high school and college. But anyways, I digress. That was just something that was awesome. But the lack of technology. Remember Nextel phones? Those were badass. The beep boops, all my friends had those. But when I was a kid, there not being so much technology, I think made it a lot more fun because you had to use your imagination. You had to make friends. You had to interact with people. You went outside. You got fresh air. You got exercise. It was fucking awesome. The imagination. You read comic books. You read books. You had to imagine things, right? So it was really cool. So that was my 2 cents about it. I think I'm just maybe getting old and nostalgic, and I think a lot of people, it's funny, when you think about when you're younger, all the old people were telling you old stories about shit that used to kick ass when you were a kid and you're young, you don't respect it. Like, shut the fuck up. This is better. This is better. Well, maybe they were onto something, because obviously I'm becoming that guy reminiscing. But think about it. Take some time. I challenge you. I don't even challenge you. I want you to do it because it's going to be fun. And just sit with some of your old buddies or some of your old stuff and just fucking hang out. Have a beer, have a coffee, have whatever, and talk about back in the fucking day. Back in the day. And reminisce and think about all the badass shit and just get a good laugh, get a good feeling, remember that shit, and then keep your eyes peeled because it's all around you today. Because back in the day, late 80s, early mid fucking 90s is the best. It's never dying and it's back. So remember that shit. I said it here. All right. Until next time, folks, we're going to put this one in the books. Have a fucking blast. Peace.